Hi, and welcome to the TeamCPNZ Quick Connect Podcast, where you can stay informed, keep connected, and learn from each other along the way as well. I'm your team captain, Richard Greer, and on today's podcast, we're going to catch up with Gretchen Williamson, who recently completed the Chicago Marathon. So the Chicago Marathon is one of the marathon majors, along with Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, New York City, and the Sydney Marathon. So if you head back into the archives, you're actually going to be able to listen to Gretchen's recap of the Berlin Marathon that she completed in September last year, which is episode 20. So that was a pretty good chat. Today, we're going to share Gretchen's story of the Chicago Marathon, how she prepared, what the travel was like, what the event was about, and the insight into what really happened at the mid-race Biofreeze station. We're all not sure what that means. Gretchen, how are you getting on?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, good. And I need to talk to you today and share your story of the Chicago Marathon, purely because like every event that people do, I try and do a wee event review and write some notes and things along those lines. And I'm not sure if I was laughing the whole time or just enthralled of like, I need to go and do the Chicago Marathon. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty surreal experience. I think I said to you, and I was thinking back to the previous one that we did about Berlin, like I was overwhelmed by the crowd and the scale and everything. Well, Berlin was positively, serene by comparison to Chicago. They take this stuff very seriously.
Yeah. Did you know what you're getting yourself in for? Did you heard from others about what it kind of was about?
I sat on a plane with someone who was doing the 100 marathons in 10 years. And when I asked him, he was up to number 68, what some of the best ones were, he was the one that said that Chicago was one of his favorites. And so I thought, well, I'll chance my arm and try and get into the ballot. And obviously I was successful getting through the ballot, which I think is about a 30% success rate, which is slightly higher than a lot of the majors. I got in, but really that was all I knew was what he'd told me on the flight from Auckland to Wellington.
No YouTubing around, like you see finish lines and things like that. But did you do a bit of research around it, or actually I'm just going to go and see what happens? What's my experience rather than trying to learn about what others? Was that sort of what you're?
That's exactly it. I don't do a lot of that. I never look at the course either.
Okay. Yep.
I never look at the course. I figure you might look at the course and tell me if there's something that's really bad in there that I need to think about. But I never look at the course. Yep. I never watch much footage about those sorts of things because, I'm a chronic overthinker. So I'm sure I would overthink it too much. So, no. Let it rip.
I guess the key thing that we looked at is, was it hilly or was it flat? And kind of what the conditions were going to be. Is it going to be hot or kind of cold? What was that like? What was the course like? Yeah,
it's dead flat, right? Strangely, there is the only real incline is in the last sort of 400 meters. You go up about 100 meters to get to run down the finish line. And I had seen someone comment about that. Because I was like, who puts that there? Like after all this time, after 42 Ks, you're going to stuff up the last 200. So that was pretty much the only thing I knew. But it's completely dead flat. And I had spoken to somebody on Waiheke who had run it, and he had said it was a magic course in terms of it's like a sort of a cross pattern. But other than that, it's completely flat. It's through 29 neighborhoods of Chicago and 29 incredibly diverse neighborhoods.
Yeah, good stuff. That's awesome. So jumping to the finish, were you looking good at the finish line? Because that's the key part of this whole thing that we're doing here, is looking good at the right moments. You've run flat, and then you've got an uphill right at the end. How did that go for you?
I think we've talked about this maybe once before. The real marathon is after the marathon, when you look through the 110 marathon photos to find the photo of you smiling. So I was determined to have a smiling photo at the end. Right. So I was in reasonable shape for that part, coming towards the end there. Because I was determined to have that smiling photo crossing the finish line. And also my husband and son were in the stands. I bought them tickets to sit in the stands. So, you want them to see you looking happy and sprinting towards the finish line.
As if you're enjoying it, like I'm looking quite good. This is good for me. Yeah, good stuff. So let's jump back a little bit to your training. How did you go on your training? Like we talked about this course being flat. Waiheke Island where you live, and is the opposite of that. It's hard to find any flat for your running. How did that go and unfold for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had this time round, I thought I would do more training in the city because, I commute to the city to work, and I thought I'll do my flat runs in the city and that sort of thing. Time in life, it's not possible. I have to run at 5 o'clock in the morning. The first ferry doesn't leave the island at that time. So it just wasn't possible. So I did all of my training on Waiheke. I did all of my training on the flat. Where I could do training on the flat, but largely I had to do hills, obviously, as part of that. There are 2 flat spots on Waiheke, which is Onatangi Beach and Blackpool. And everyone kept saying to my husband, did I see Gretchen just going around in circles in Blackpool? These are the fishing guys. And I'm like, yeah, that was her. Yeah. You'll see her going around in circles with a little dog and her torch on going around in circles. So I did do a lot of those. I did a lot of going around in circles, and sadly I ran with my dog and I ran with a really good friend of mine, but she tripped and fractured her shoulder. So about 10 or 12 weeks before the marathon. So I did the majority of the training on my own. Like, I met up with the club, but they were off doing their regular runs. But you, of course, have put all my training in there and my intervals and things like that. And I just stuck to the schedule like glue, really, this time around, which is also not like me, as you probably know. I really this time felt really proud of myself for this training because I had to do it on my own. I had to do it in the dark. I fit it around everything else that I do. And I really felt like I achieved something for myself this time around in a funny way. And this is my 4th marathon. You'd think I would have got that before now, but this was the one that gave me that.
Yeah, that real confidence. So you're running around in the dark with your community watch, high-vis vest on, sort of thing, making sure everything's under control. But I mean, that's tough to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to have to do your thing. And how did you go with just, I guess, managing that training load and managing life and work and family and all those sorts of things? And still having the energy to actually be useful as well.
Yeah, that's right. And it does feel like when you're in that phase that all you're doing is you've got your running shoes on, or you're thinking about putting your running shoes on, and when are you next putting your running shoes on, And I always think, if I haven't gone out for 2 days, if there's a gap of 2 days, my dog starts to sit beside the cupboard because he's like, she must be going out soon. She wouldn't leave me behind. Know what's happening here. And of course, he can't do the longer run, so I'll drop him back or I'll drop things. But I got very good at dropping things all over the island. So that's one of the other things I do. I get rid of my clothing as I go. I drop water bottles. I drop snacks. I put them all over the place. And then I have to go and collect them up because there's no risk of anybody else touching them, because often I would head out, at 5 a.m. or something like that. I won't see anyone until I'm basically coming back to my street and people might be heading off to work. So it's very quiet out there. It's just me, Ted, some hedgehogs that he likes to chase, and that's about it.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. And hopefully you sort of know where you remember to put those drink bottles or those snacks and stash of music bars.
Sometimes you forget though, right? And then I'd be running around the other end and I'm like, oh my God, I've gone the wrong way and my water bottle's back there. So absolutely. Some life lessons of just keeping them all in the same sort of zone.
But that's okay. Yeah. You'll probably get that one from a Tuesday next week. So it'll be all right. It's good to have.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. So standing on the start line, were you feeling prepared? Like, obviously the training went well. Like we had a good emphasis on strength training as well. You were in one piece. How were you feeling at that stage?
It's always going to be pretty overwhelming, right? Because there are, 52,000 people heading out for this run. You are put into corrals, into waves. And I was in the 4th one. I think there's a total of 5. And, there's over 10,000 people in your group as such. So I walked from the hotel because I purposely booked into a hotel that I could walk to the start line. And then, of course, I was there probably too early, but you have to be there early. And you just wait thinking, do I need to go to the bathroom? How many times do I need to go to the bathroom? I need
to go once or twice more, so I'm going to time it for then and then. When the queue's going to be this long. Yep.
Yeah, but people are so friendly, right? And there were quite a lot of people. It was their first one, and there's some younger girls and stuff that wanted to chat. And then, of course, you see the Kiwi. I saw a Kiwi guy with all of his, stuff on with his name and the silver fern and everything. So I chatted to him, and he was running for charity. So, you always find people amongst that group that you can have a chat to and hang out with and find out their stories. And everyone's got a story, right? You don't train for a marathon, and it's certainly a major marathon, and not have some kind of story as to why you're there, whether it's because your friend made you, or you're doing it with your dad because you've always wanted to do a marathon with your dad, or whatever the reason, it's pretty cool. And I love to find those stories out, of course. And it's incredibly international, right? People from the Philippines, people from all over America. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, good. So why did you want to do it? What was your reason for wanting to be there?
I was thinking about that before the podcast, and I was thinking, it's quite a strange one for me. I'm not a runner, right? And I always say that to people, I'm not a runner. And I only became a runner as such, during the lockdowns, as my father was very unwell and I wasn't able to leave Auckland. The border was up, and I had no way to kind of process my grief and what was happening to me other than doing something, and I couldn't sit inside. It was driving me crazy. So that's when I started running, and I thought about him a lot when, because he's passed away now, and I thought about him a lot. He never saw me do these events. Okay. But we're a very stubborn bunch, the Williamsons, so I don't think he would be surprised. And so that's kind of my why. It became about processing that grief. It became about showing my son that you could do things that you're not naturally good at, that you can just have that kind of dogged determination to get yourself through these events. And I started running when I was 44, 45, it's not, it's not the traditional 20 plus years of running, but as my doctor always says to me, she said, you've always been stubborn, and I think you get more stubborn as a woman as you get older, so perhaps that continues in my favour. My why is really around, a lot of it's mental health, right? A lot of it's, processing of emotions, but also that demonstration to my son, who's only 8, that, you can do these things and you can go crazy places, and your life's only as big as or as small as you make it. And that's why. Yeah. Yeah,
that's good. And Mo, would have been pretty cool to have them there, your husband and son, sort of at the event, because they weren't there in Berlin. Was that right? Or were they?
Yeah, they were. They just came. They arrived a bit later into Berlin. It's a long way to travel, right? But they were there for Berlin, and they were there for Chicago as well. And I always feel quite bad, I'm like, this is my strange little hobby that I picked up.
Yeah, you have to come along.
You guys have to come along, but they just love it. And my husband was like, oh God, no. He said, we absolutely love this. And, my son's like, it's another major marathon, look at us go. And the crowd and the people and that experience, I just don't think you're going to get that any other way. And it's pretty special. They're very hard to find in the crowd, though. They're almost impossible to find in the crowd. I had the messages coming up on my watch, and it had been 10 Ks in, and my husband messaged me and he said, you've run past it twice. And I was like, oh, I didn't see it. I've got nothing, guys. So he then got very specific about where they were, left-hand side, past the sign, by this, blah, blah. And so then I could pick them up, and each time they'd have something different for me, some sort of treat, some sort of thing going on.
That's awesome.
But the crowd and the cowbells and those clackers, like that is just such a constant soundtrack for me.
Like you think about the Christchurch Marathon. Okay, well, how did you miss them twice? But you have got, how many people are on the sidelines? How many people are? And tell us more about that environment.
There are 1 million people that line the streets. You can hear a million people, and whether it's more or less than that, but it's certainly, you believe it. It starts from the very first kilometre. You run under a bridge, and there is a crowd under that bridge already shouting at you about what an amazing person you are and how great you're going to do, and let's go, girlfriend, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, bring it up. Yeah.
And all the signs, the anti-Trump, all of that stuff is just loud and full on right from the beginning. And I noticed a lot of people wearing those shocks, and somebody had said to me, oh, don't worry about headphones because you won't be able to hear anything, and the open ear ones, and you wouldn't have been able to hear a single thing because of the music and the crowd. And I was talking to a guy at Lululemon on the Monday, and he was like, oh yeah, absolutely, we start at 7:30 in the morning and we get prepped, and we are heading out for a full day on the sideline. It's our biggest party day of the year, right?
Yeah, good. Yeah. That's awesome. And you, for a lot of these big marathons, often, like you talked about the Kiwi guy who had his name on his bib and all that sort of stuff, you didn't have your name on your t-shirt for a specific. Tell us about that.
I did in Berlin, and I never wanted to hear my name again at the end of that marathon because,
Yes.
of course, my name's German, and everybody was yelling at me, and it just threw me, and I thought, I'm not going to put my name on there, but I guess what's the trade-off? It's, either having your name yelled at you, which is quite nice, I suppose, or, go girlfriend, or I see you, girl, constantly. So, either way, you're going to get yelled at. So
which is, I guess, because otherwise, if you hear your name, you're like, oh, do I know that person? Oh, do I know that person? Like, oh, no, don't know any of these people.
Yeah. I knew the only real people that were in the crowd would be my husband and son that actually knew my name, but not that it would matter. I can't hear them.
Yeah. So no matter how much big sort of loudspeaker got going on, they've got nothing.
No.
Jumping around, trying to get to the front line. No, that's awesome. So how did your run unfold? Tell how did you go through the course of the marathon?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, the first 10 kilometers, I really couldn't tell you what happened. I don't really remember looking at my watch. I don't remember thinking about my pace. There was just that massive kind of overwhelm of that crowd and everything that was coming in and looking at everything. Yep. And then I was like, oh, okay, right, I better get my head in the game. So I went to the bathroom and thought, I'll get my head back into it and run to the 21K mark, halfway. And then see how things go. And that seemed fine. And as I say, you go through all these different neighborhoods and they're just so incredibly diverse. You go through the gay neighborhood and there's the stage with 3 guys in white suits performing One Direction. You go through a completely different neighborhood and then, the middle spot is the financial district, which of course is, my big background. I know heaps about the Chicago Board of Exchange and things like that. So I was kind of pumped to see the financial district, probably not what most people are there to see. Right. Oh, look at the exchange. And then so I'm running towards that halfway point and you can just hear the noise, because there's that constant noise of the clackers and the cowbells and the music and the stages and so on. But I could just hear this thumping, right? And I have to be honest, I cried when I came around the corner because that sound and the crowd, it was like I'd already finished the marathon and I'd won the marathon and I was like the best runner in the world because they're just so enthusiastic and so incredible. And just after that, my husband and son were around the corner. And so that was unreal. I thought, God, if I'm crying at halfway, I'm not sure how I'm going to get to the finish line. But,
manage my emotions, to have some energy.
Yeah, 1980s rock. What am I going to do, into the danger zone. So, yeah, I mean, you go through those ebbs and flows, and I think probably more than anything in an event like that, you really go through the ebbs and flows because of that crowd and because of what's going on around you. And I was really determined this time to enjoy it, and so I know for some people enjoyment comes from getting a better time and going faster and things like that. For me, I wanted to be happy, to experience all the emotions of it without thinking I'm dying while I'm running, So I really felt like that was where I was at. And then I just focused on going from kind of aid station or, hydration station or version of from there on out. That's sort of how I quite often break down that second half. Yeah. And there was some pretty wild stuff in the second half, particularly in terms of those neighborhoods. You go to an area where there's the block party. So the block party is all the charities set up these stalls because there's lots of charity runners. And again, you come around the corner and there's this massive noise of the block party and they're running out with stuff for all of their runners and they're cheering you along and things like that. And there's an incredible amount of money that is raised for charity, which is pretty neat, right? But then, of course, you go through Mexico Town where they were launching confetti launches across the street and, the loud booming of Mexico Town, Koreatown, where obviously that was Gangnam Style. I mean, how good. Chinatown, Bronzeville, which is the black neighborhood, and the rap, and you could hear that coming as well. So, I sort of was like, just run yourself through each of these things, enjoy each one for what it is, because, I will never probably ever experience that again. I'll certainly never experience it for the first time. So have, head up, smile on, and just see what's out there. And lots of kids, right? There's heaps of kids out there wanting to high five you. The other thing that I hadn't seen before, there's lots of people with their dogs and like pat my dog for energy, and I'm a massive dog fan, right? And so I'm missing my dogs, so I'm patting dogs and I'm running. And
so much more energy. That sounds better now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff, right? Like, I think to me, these events are obviously kind of like the celebratory round of all that training, all those nights in the dark going around in circles in Blackpool, you know. This is what it's all about. And it was incredible. Yeah.
Yep. Often other people have said, like, I will go to the side of the road to get some high fives if I'm feeling a bit down, and then I get sick of high fives, so I'll come into the middle of the road to get away from them. Did you sort of do that a little bit as you needed to? Or?
I think so. Yeah, you do. I quite like running on the side, though, for some reason. That's kind of where my comfort zone is, there on the side, because I feel like I've then got a good view to duck and weave if I want to duck and weave. And that's always the other thing that surprises me in those, you know, there's not too many places where you feel too tight, you know, considering the volume of runners and capabilities and all that sort of thing. There was only probably 2 times that I had to run around someone. One was in the student neighbourhood where they wanted you to do kickstands on the side of the road, which I wasn't keen about.
Was that early or late? How far through the marathon was that?
It was before halfway. I was like, if I'm doing 5-ball shots and kickstands at this point, I'm not making it to the end.
Yeah.
But the lady in front of me, she stopped to do the kickstand, so I had to run out.
Okay. You go, girlfriend.
We didn't put that in the training plan, did we?
No, we didn't. We have to look at that. We have to prepare better.
Yeah. So I mean, I always think that's quite cool. So I like to be on the side there, so I can kind of see everything and duck and weave and get my feel from the crowd. And my husband, they generally stick to the left-hand side, which makes life easier for me too. Yeah.
Good. Nice work. And then how did you go getting deeper into the marathon? It started to get a bit hot for you towards the back end of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not super hot, but it was probably getting up towards 20, kind of degrees. And of course I'm, 5-hour kind of person plus. So in that 4 to 5 hour zone, it's starting to get quite warm. And I think as I said to you, and you mentioned at the top there, I had seen these Biofreeze stations as you go. And I didn't know what Biofreeze was. I've got no idea. And it was at the expo as well. And then I thought, I've gone past a couple of them and I'm starting, my calves are starting to feel quite tired. I'm a little bit dehydrated, but I'll see what happens in the Biofreeze station.
Okay, yeah.
And so you run off the side of the road and it's like like the pits for F1. I mean, I don't watch much of that sort of stuff, but that's what I imagine that they're kind of like. And you run in there and there's these big woman with, jumpsuits on, big dark green jumpsuits. And she's like, put your hands up, darling, and shut your eyes. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Anyway, so I do that because obviously you're not going to turn her down because she's quite large. And she sprayed me down on the front and then she's like, turn around. And she sprayed me down on the back. And then she tapped me on the bum and goes, you're good to go. And it's like, what the hell just happened there? And, am I hallucinating? Like, what is going on? Anyway, so off I trotted. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if you know what it is or everybody else might know what it is, but it's like those sprays that we used to have when I played netball that you would spray if you had a sprain, but I just have been completely covered. But geez, I felt good. Like, I couldn't feel anything. It was fantastic. So maybe that's another secret for the training kit.
Yeah, good stuff. That's awesome. So a bit of trust going on. Okay, how's this going to turn out? All right, well, let's go and have a crack at this then. So good.
Well, again, because it's all part of that, right? It was all part of what I wanted. I want to be part of the experience. I want to enjoy the experience. I want to be able to look back and go, I didn't leave anything out there from both an experience perspective and from a running perspective. And I certainly didn't leave any, I left the kickstand and the 5-ball shots, but,
A little bit selective. Don't be silly about it.
Don't want to go crazy here, guys. Yeah. But you've got it. You're right. Amazing. When am I going to do that again? Probably never.
Exactly. You've still got time for kickstands and shots. That's okay. Yeah, for another time. So reflecting back, like it's quite fun actually to reflect back on this. It was a few weeks back now that you did it, but what were some learnings that you took away from this? Obviously, just enjoy the experience, soak that up. You've mentioned that you were as fit as you've been for any of your marathons coming into this, which is pretty fun. What did you take away from this that you might, I guess, share with others, or to make sure you do again, or maybe do differently next time?
I mean, I have no regrets for anything that I feel that I would change. I really, this was one of the best experiences of my life. And, I said that after Berlin, that Berlin brought me back to the marathon, because I pretty much thought my marathon, I'd done two, maybe the marathons weren't really for me, but I'll try another one. And Berlin gave that back to me. Chicago, I think, showed me that it kind of doesn't matter who you are. You can have an incredible experience doing these things that challenge you. That crowd and that passion, and Medal Monday, where everyone wears their medals all around town on the Monday. I don't normally do that because we're humble Kiwis. We don't really get into that, but my son was like, "You have to wear the medal. You absolutely have to, Mum. If you don't wear the medal, I'll wear the medal." And people are just wild. Like, everywhere you go, they go, "Oh, did you run the marathon, girlfriend?" I'm like, "Yes." And your first Chicago marathon? And they're like, "Yes." And they're like, "I've got a live one. She's a first timer." And everyone in the shop turns around and cheers you. And it's just unreal. You feel incredible. And I just wouldn't change that. What times in our lives do we get cheered on like that since we were at school, or since, certainly, not as an elite runner or anything like that. It's never going to happen for me, other than these sorts of things. And they do make you feel really good. And I just think the attitude of everybody and every single person I interacted with was just so positive. And, from people I met on sightseeing trips or whatever it was, about how cool it was to be doing something so fun in a city like Chicago. And no, I wouldn't change anything. There's something mildly spiritual about running in the middle of the night on Waiheke, really. And, everybody on Waiheke was incredibly supportive to me. It's a cool thing. It's a very cool thing.
So good. So where are you off to next? What are you up to now? And what's your next plan of attack?
It's hard, isn't it? There's that come down, right? And, not sure I'm cut out for the come down. I like to have something to focus on. I mean, you did try to give me some advice about doing some things other than running, which, I told you to stay in your lane. You're the run coach. We don't want to do swimming,
kayaking, netball.
It's good advice. I like it. So I think I will do obviously some shorter events. I'll do some trail events. We've signed up to do the Hanua Hillbilly in March. Just the 21K there, do some off-road stuff. But I'm pretty keen to get myself to New York. I think when I look back, with all my medals on the wall when I'm in my 80s, I want to be able to point out the one from New York. So that's the plan for November next year. It's very hard to access that. So I will, go with a tour group to get into that one, unless I, luck through the ballot once more. But no, I want to keep going. And I don't know if it's as much of, getting all the majors. I've thought about that. Do I want to get all the majors if I can get all the majors? I just want to keep doing the things that I enjoy, finding the ones that I want to do at the time that I want to do them. And that's the plan. Just keep on.
That's a great plan, and fun to sort of do some trail stuff that's just a bit different, and then have that sort of marathon at the end of the year. And at the moment, we've said, okay, let's get back to basics. One thing you've done really well is got back to did a good build up of your strength training, so you had no injury issues in this build up at all, which is pretty cool. How's the gym been treating you?
The gym. I mean, people seem to enjoy the gym. It's unusual, right? And I said to you, you look at those photos on Instagram, people look so happy at the gym, but I think that's fake news, right? I'm trying really hard to enjoy the gym. I understand now, we talked about it and I've thought about it, that, it's about getting gains in a different way, that you don't get that instant kind of feedback that you get like you do with running. So I'm sticking with it and hoping that at some point I'll go, oh, cool, I'm off to the gym. So it's certainly not my happy place, but I appreciate how essential it is. And as you know, I'm focusing on getting strong for Santa. So that's it's a big driver there.
There we go. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're not enjoying it, you're stronger for Santa. That was our goal of the fortnight, is find the joy in the gym somehow, somewhere. But stronger for Santa, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Gretchen. It's pretty cool to be able to share your experience and give others a bit of an insight of what the Chicago Marathon was about for you, but also great to hear why you're doing this and just what you've got out of the positive experience that is the Chicago Marathon and all these different endurance challenges that you take on. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what the summer comes and hopefully how buff we can get for Santa and all the different adventures you've got in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. And I know that I say this to you, but you really do help me make this happen. And you quietly keep nudging me in directions, and back to how stubborn I am. That's not an easy task. So thank you for that. And yeah, it's a great time. It's pretty cool. And who would have thought that at 50, these are the sorts of things that I would be doing? Just didn't. And here I am. And geez, it's great.
Good on you. Awesome. Well, another opportunity to bask in your glory. That's part of it, isn't it? Just to reflect on this. So I've done well today. So yeah, look after yourself, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Well done. Thanks.
Bye.